Our gracious Heavenly Father, let us thank you for this day, and that we can come together as a meet for the prosperity of our people, guide, direct, lead us to the right thing to make the life better of our people. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen. Thank you very much. Before we get started, I'd ask that you please put your phones on silent or vibrate. Next is roll call.
Meredith Brady.
Here.
Joe Crittenden.
Here.
Bill Anglin.
Here.
Bill John Baker.
Here.
Arthur Connor. Jack Baker.
Here.
Don Garvin. Chuck Hoskins. Bill Johnson.
Here.
Taylor King.
Here.
John Keener. Jackie Ball Martin.
Oh, I knew.
Linda O'Leary. Melvina Shothouse. David Thornton. Carol County Watts. Bill Shargent. You have a quorum.
We have a quorum. Next on the agenda is approval of the minutes of the July 27 Rules Subcommittee.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Mr. Martin?
No discussion about the minutes, but I didn't bring my agenda in. Well, I brought all mine, but I don't have an
What are you
agenda.
going to say? Gail?
Who left all mine?
You going to call him what you call me?
All in favor, aye.
Bill, you got an
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Madam Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I'd also like to move to approve the August 14th special, the August 14th Rules Subcommittee, and add to this agenda and approve August 29th minutes of the packet.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
There you go.
August 29th. Okay, moving on down to reports.
Chair,
Yes, sir,
I
Mr.
think
Bowler.
it was the 31st. Gail said they were missing, coming up later.
August 31st will be submitted later. Okay, thank you. Reports, Marshal Service, Ms. Wright. Or someone from Marshal Service. No one here? Justice Department, Ms. Hammonds. Hello. There's Julie, Diane. There you are, just in time. We're into reports, Ms. Hammonds.
Thank you. Just briefly, our investigator, LD Drywater, went to North Carolina to help our relatives out of the Eastern Band the first week in September. We filed our final brief in the arbitration proceedings, and the arbitration argument is now set in November. We received notice yesterday. Pat & Boggs, if you'll recall, they filed a lawsuit claiming that we owed them, or they were entitled to more money out of the Arkansas Riverbed settlement, over $1 million more they wanted. They lost at the district court level. They've appealed that, and the appellate court has set oral argument in Washington, D.C. for November 7th. We continue working through our congressional folks on language for the Delaware bill to try to get that finalized. And in-house legal resources, we continue working on legislation and policies to help implement child support enforcement, which we hope to have up and running with Human Services within the next year. So those are some of the highlights of what we've been doing the last month. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions or comments from Ms. Hammonds? Mr. Baker?
Ms. Johnson, you can first.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Johnson.
Oh, well, regarding Delaware, have you got your memorandum of understanding back from them? Or are you moving ahead on it, or?
The memorandum of understanding as to services, I think Ms. Knight is working with their folks on. My department has been more involved in trying to get the language of the bill before Congress finalized, so that to get them recognition, and then we have that separate memorandum of understanding as to how different services are going to be handled. I know she's been working on that, but I don't know the latest on it. I'll ask her to update.
Mr. Baker?
Yes. So are we trying to settle with Pat Boggs?
No, we won.
Okay.
We had talked about talking about settlement with them, but we won, I believe, on summary judgment. You know, that's being handled by our DC firm, Snosky Chambers. So we didn't have to get to that stage. Now they've appealed an oral argument.
And apparently the board at CNI is still awaiting some of the investigation of some of that. Have you all completed the investigation, or is it still an investigation, or?
There still are investigations. I know the outside forensic auditors are still working there. I spoke with Ms. Bertrand and Ms. Catcher this morning. They are about to wrap up their portion of things, and I know that there's another law enforcement arm of that that's still ongoing.
Any other questions? Comments? Thanks, Ms. Hammond. Next is Mrs. Morton on the Election Commission. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. It's nice to see you.
Thank you.
I brought the official minutes of the last meeting, and you'll find them there where you're sitting. Item number 4 comes to our attention that we're anticipating getting ready for the next election when we have directives. Item number 5, we received and sent the numbers for the initiative petition. And do you want me to give you the numbers?
All right, please.
All right. The numbers sent and verified 2,217. And I have the memo where we all signed. Do I need to repeat it? I haven't called.
Anybody have any questions, or did you understand? Those were the approved signatures that were sent to the Supreme Court. Mr. Anglin?
Yes, thank you, Madam Speaker. How many signatures were required to make the petition valid?
The number that we were advised is 13,914.
13,000?
Total number of votes cast at last general election. And I didn't make a copy of this, but I could pull it and you can have it in your file.
Oh, so it's 15% of the 13,000.
That's what it was.
So it's 13,100.
Okay. The total number of votes cast at the last general election was 13,914. And the number of signatures that were found to be true and accepted by the Election Commission is 2,217, and it was sent on to the Supreme Court. That's item number 5.
Thank you, Madam.
Yes.
Mr. Baker?
How many were not certified?
That is on a separate piece of paper on file over there, and each thing that was done, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, is documented and signed by the 2 ladies that work there in the commission, and I'm sure that you're privy to that information, but I didn't bring it today. It will, if you want it, just ask for it. Okay?
Mr. Garvin?
Has there been anything done on the registration form, Mr. President? Has it been changed yet?
We can't do it yet. We're working on it, and we have ideas, and we have talked at length about it. We're waiting until you give us the final directive, so we can...
What do you do with the ones that come in that won't be in a certain spot?
Nothing, you know.
Can't do it. You just hold them separate, or
We are not at the point where we can do anything yet.
Just jumping?
We have information. And when council decides where these districts are going to be and how they're going to be done, then we will just get on that and just get everything ready for it. Okay?
Are you getting quite a few now?
And you're free at any time to go over and talk to the ladies and ask those questions.
They give me the same answer.
Any other questions, comments? Was there anything else, Ms. Morton?
A question. Do you want us to send the minutes to you?
That would be helpful.
Mail them to you. These are the unofficial, and we have 3 more petitions, and you're welcome to check them out. I brought them, but I didn't feel I should make copies.
Mr. Anglin?
Thank you, Master. I have one more question. The people that are registering to vote now, and they are selecting a district within the Cherokee Nation, and they're at large, will they still be sent that card later to, or if they're registering now, does that mean that they're going to be registered in the district that they're choosing, so if they're living outside of the jurisdictional boundaries? Or will they have to make that choice again? That's some of the questions I've had.
Okay, let me give you one example. My grandson was caught over here trying to get his money for college, which he did, which we're very thankful for. And they caught him at the door and said, "Are you registered?" He said, "Registered," and said, "How old are you?" And he said how old he was. And he did register at that time, and he did sign up for a district, even though he is at school in Arkansas. He will vote at Stillwell, in whatever. And so we're still doing that. I can't go any further right now, and you're welcome to. Are we doing what we're going to be doing finally? No, not yet, but we are accepting it.
Okay. That's been some of the questions of people asking me.
I know.
They want to vote in our district, but they didn't know whether they was going to have to redo it again later or what. So.
Okay. Well, I'll put that as a directive so we can answer that for sure. All right. That's it. That's all I have.
That's all.
I think Mr. Thornton had a question, and Mr. Baker.
He brought up a question that I wanted to ask you. If you're outside the 14 county district nation, if you're outside the nation, if you register at large, you have to vote at large if you're 25 years or older. Is that right?
I didn't bring that information, but that sounds what we discussed at the last meeting at length about those 2 items. And we do have it. We do have an opinion and an information sheet on that.
And people that are 25 years or older that register now or have registered since 03 are supposed to vote at large.
Can't say
I'm just going by what I read in the Constitution. And people that are under 25 can make a choice, from what I understand, to either vote at large or vote in the district.
Every meeting we pull all that out and discuss it at length, and I didn't bring it today. I'm prepared to discuss it.
And the people that were voting before 03 have to be given the choice to vote for their at-large representative, or they can vote in the district.
Right.
And what I understand, the way I read the Constitution, that they will have to say that they want to vote in the district. If they don't, then they automatically go at large. So, thank you.
Mr. Baker?
Your example of your son, Casey.
Grandson.
Or grandson, sorry. He said Stillwell.
He lives there.
I understand. But, okay, if he physically lives there, then I assume whether he's north or south, will take care of himself. But I thought if he was living in Arkansas and chose Stillwell, how that would.
He's commuting right now.
Which district you
But he
put him?
lives in Stillwell, and he'll know which district it is.
Yeah, okay.
So, that all?
No.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Tax Commission, Ms. Wexton. Good afternoon.
our third satellite office at Collinsville. Went real well. I was very pleased with the turnout that we had there from the community, and also Mr. Anglin and Mr. Johnson was there. We appreciate them being there. I checked with her about noon today up there, and we served about 50 customers yesterday through about noon today. So, and we really weren't. We were open, but we were having our open house and everything on Tuesday, so people didn't really think we were open. So we had a few come in on Tuesday, but between yesterday and through about noon today, we served about 50 customers. So I thought that was pretty good, just getting started on that. On the reports you got through August of this year, the motor vehicle division generated about $6.5 million compared to last year at this time at $5.8 million, which is about a 12% increase from last year through August. And then the Revenue and Taxation Department, or tobacco, they generated about $7.1 million through August compared to last year at this time at $3.3 million. That's a 110% increase. $1.8 million of that is attributed to the surtax, which was not in place last year, which is for cancer and diabetes. Other than that, everything seems to be going well at the tax commission, and we're moving forward and working with our computer systems. And the one good thing that we can say about Collinsville is they didn't have to open up and start handwriting. We were actually able to put in the computer systems, and they're actually able just to put them into the system there, so we're not having to work those twice. So all of our outlying offices are now working with the computers, and we're not having to bring the paperwork back here and do it over again. Are there any questions? Mr. Thornton?
When are we going to extend our sale of our tags into other communities, other than where they are?
Other than where they are, right now I'm working with Todd's area, and he has, in fact, I have a couple of them here with me. He's done me some population analysis maps, and we're looking to see where the areas are, and we're looking for, we have offices and trying to make them within a 35-mile radius, so we are currently doing our analysis on that to get with those to see the other areas and stuff that we need to go to and get them in those other areas and work with those. So we are working trying to get those there in the other communities.
Any other questions? Thank you, Ms. West. Thank you. Ms. Hanvey on self-governance. Good afternoon.
I have a considerable amount to report to you today, but I'll try to keep it as brief as possible. In case you don't know, James Payson will be replaced by Carl Hartman in the near future. I haven't looked on the website. I just got in late last night, so I haven't looked to see if he's confirmation here in his place or not. In regards to DOI, there was an Indian Affairs Committee hearing last week in which Paula Ragsdale attended. It was a hearing on amendments to Title IV of the Self-Government Act. Title IV was passed before Title V, which is Title V is IHS, Title IV is DOI. These amendments are to bring some of the newer updated provisions of Title IV or in Title V into Title IV. So that's what those amendments are. And there's been discussion for, I want to say, about 3 years now. Senator McCain wants to further that. There's been not very many new rights coming into self-governance, and so this is part of that movement as to why is that and what can they do about it. So anyway, Paula Ragsdale attended that hearing. We had a meeting with the regional office in Cherokee, several officials over there, in regards to several issues. One, the GIFR reports, the government's performance results act reports that we're required to do, or the BIA is required to do. We've established that I will be the contact for Cherokee Nation, and Charles Head will be the central contact for the BIA. Hopefully that will alleviate some of the direct contact with the program staff on these data calls and requests and that way we can coordinate that information a little better. One of the other items that we discussed was there is a backlog at the DIA of about 500 denied applications for CDIBs, and there are several reasons for that, but we met with the registration office and tried to come up with some quality control measures and some ways to streamline that process with the DIA so that we can alleviate some of that. We're in the process of negotiating some proposed amendments to our multi-year funding agreement. If you'll recall, during our last negotiations of the funding agreement, we had a multi-year, which was 2005 to 2007. And so now all we have to do is amend to that. And we're in the process of negotiating that for the upcoming year. In regards to trust reform, Tom Elkin, Linda Donaldson, and Pat Quinn attended a meeting in Tulsa regarding Senate Bill 1439, which has several provisions within that proposed bill. All of them are regarding trust reform. Some of the titles are to settle the Cobell case. I think the current dollar amount is $8 billion. I think that's the latest dollar amount that's being discussed. It would also establish a trust asset management plan, a project, demonstration project for tribes that if you want to participate in that, you can establish your management plan and manage your own leases, which would really streamline our leasing process. However, along with that, the way the bill is currently written, each tribe would have to sign a waiver of liability to the department in order to do that. And we are discussing that with other tribes and getting some feedback from other folks as to what they think about that and discussing that internally. This bill also will do away with the Office of the Special Trustee. I believe in the bill it's slated to be terminated in 2008 if this bill should pass. It also establishes a new position for the Undersecretary of Indian Affairs. There's quite a few things in this bill. They're trying to address trust reform, and it's a huge undertaking. But just to give you a brief update on that. At the end of July, Robert Endicott and I attended the advisory committee meeting for Department of Interior, and roads was a huge issue on that agenda. As a result of some of our efforts within that meeting with Mr. Payson and Mr. Ragsdale, there were some positive outcomes from that meeting, one of which we had a meeting the first part of September with Arlene Brown from the Office of Self-Government. She came down and met with us to go over the new provisions or updates to the roads database. And just to give you a brief background, we compacted our roads functions through a pilot project. There was Cherokee Nation and Red Lake, and I don't think we have anybody in here today, but I will brag on our road staff with Farley Buzzard and those folks. They've done such a good job that we can be used as a model for other tribes. And it was actually through our performance that we were able to make a case for other tribes throughout the nation. And so I need to brag on those folks for just a little bit. It makes my job a lot easier to have a really good program that you can get behind. But this database that came out of that pilot project will now be used throughout the nation for any roads program or any tribe that's compacted their roads program. Also along that line, we received last month the remaining portion of our 2005 funds. Yes, I did say 2005. And we did receive our 2006 funds. We are in the process of looking at our options as to file a CDA claim, Contract Dispute Act claim, or a Prompt Payment Act claim for the late payment of those funds. I think the overall payment was a little over $11 million, and here we are in September, end of August, first part of September, and just getting our money. So we'll be getting with the Sanoski firm and some other folks to look at our options as far as getting some interest on those monies. Melanie Knight has served on the National Coordinating Committee, and Robert Endicott as an alternate member. Her term is about to expire, and she no longer wished to participate on that committee. So we met with some other tribes and plan to recommend Mr. Isaac Hawkins with the Chickasaw Nation to serve as our representative on that committee. Another issue in regards to roads, there's several key issues that are on the burner right now. One is the payment process, which I told you, we just received our 06 money and the last portion of our 05 money. The payment process was going through the Office of Self-Government. A couple of years ago, they decided to move that through the BIA, through the old P638 system. We've never been paid on time since then. So part of the discussions we had at the end of July was to make a case to bring that back to the Office of Self-Government, and they're in the process of doing that. So the payment is an issue. The other is inventory, and we have just completed, along with our roads department, a briefing paper that we've shared with other tribes to use the census, what's called the Tiger files, for reporting inventory. They had looked at using the existing BIA inventory database and transferring that data over to Federal Highway. That would have been at a cost of about $1 million that the tribes would have to pick up. It would come out of our roads funding nationally. We are recommending and suggesting that we use data that is in a GIS format already. It would be easily converted, and it would be at little to no cost to the tribes. So we have developed a briefing paper on that and are trying to get other tribes to support that. In regards to IHS, the Office of Tribal Self-Government Director, Paula Williams, is now in Oklahoma City.
That position is going to be filled. Currently what they're doing is using the AONs, the agency lead negotiators from across the country, to rotate in that position until they hire someone. And I think they're looking at replacing or filling that position in spring of '07. So all of the agency lead negotiators will rotate on a 30, 60, 90-day rotation. Currently that position is being held by Mark Downing, if any of you remember Mark Downing from Cherokee. We've been working with Paula Ragsdale and J.T. Petrick in the health department to look at our options for contract support costs for the Muskogee Clinic joint venture. As you know, the nation will build the facility, and the operational funds would be funded through IHS. Currently, we don't have contract support costs included in that. So we have been working with Paula from a legislative standpoint, as well as JT and some other folks on maybe some policy changes that would allow us to obtain contract support costs for that project. And we're probably talking roughly $4 million for that. Speaking of contract support costs, in case you don't know, I think actually there was a memo that went out to you that we did receive our payment, our final payment for the 97 contract support costs. That's been a long 10-year battle. We finally got our last payment, so that's a big woohoo that we got our money. We attended the Oklahoma Coalition self-governance meeting last week. Again, we covered DOI and IHS issues with other tribes and tried to coordinate with them. We share a lot of information, especially on roads right now. We share that information along with any negotiation issues that all the tribes have. And it's really beneficial. And I must say that some of the people that I've met over the last couple of years they are truly dedicated to self-governance and to their tribe and the furtherance of helping tribal citizens. And it's a real pleasure to work with some of those folks. I just got in last night from a strategic visioning session on self-governance, again, both with DOI and IHS, from tribes across the nation to discuss the furtherance of self-governance, any legislative initiatives that we have, and how we can work together across the nation to get those initiatives accomplished. And I think that's it.
Any questions?
Any questions or
Comments for Vicki? Yes, Mr. Huskin?
The proposed replacement for Mr. Jason, who was that again? The name?
I believe it's Carl Artman. Is it Carl? I think it's Carl Artman. The last name is Artman. I think it's Carl.
Any other questions? Thank you, Ms. Hanby. Next is Gaming Commission, Mr. Hummingbird. Anyone here from Gaming? Okay, and I noticed Ms. Wright has come in. Good evening.
Hello. Sorry, I was a little late. I guess I'll start with patrol activities. Patrol made in the month of August 26 arrests, wrote 105 traffic citations or warnings, responded to 28 domestic abuse calls. Had 46 alcohol-related contacts. Assisted ICW with 26 children and had other agency assists of 87. So they assisted the other agencies 87 times. I'm not sure on what type of call. Our community activities for August, we helped with the security at the Bell Powwow, participated with the preparations of a safe house project that they've got going in Cherokee, and I think we're Gasaway's group is helping with that too. So we're partnering with them trying to get that safe house open. Our community group worked in the Head Starts and read with the Head Starts in Kenwood and Cherokee Heights with those children. They did presentations to the No Water Head Start and Boys and Girls Club in Pryor on just safety issues for the kids. Then within the investigations, we've got 2 cases of rape in Adair County. One's pending in the county system and one is pending in the Eastern District. We have 4 open cases of embezzlement. 2 of those that are open within West Alon Casino and 2 at the Catoosa Casino. We also have 2 open embezzlements that are in trial court that has been cleared by confession, but they're awaiting sentencing. And I know one of those was down in Adair County at Mansfield. I'm not sure where the other one was, but it was tribal too. Within narcotics, we seized 3 labs this past month. 1 in Cherokee County, 2 in Adair County. And within those labs, we had 4 arrests. 3 of those arrests were, 4 arrests there. Then we had 3 arrests for possession with intent to sell. We seized 28 grams of meth and 52 grams of marijuana and 10 firearms from those 3 individuals. We had 1 arrest for possession of marijuana in Quad County and 1 arrest for possession of meth and marijuana and 4 firearms, possession of 4 firearms in Adair County. And I think in investigations I also missed, I heard you ask Diane, we still have the CNI case ongoing and Jim Fraser's coordinating that with some federal agencies. So that's still ongoing. And that's all I have.
Questions or comments? I have one, Sharon. There's a domestic dispute case in Mays County. They took the gentleman to Mays County and held him there for a considerable length of time before he was tried in Cherokee court. Is that because we don't have a holding cell or whatever you call it in our system?
The way we work that is if we have a tribal arrest, we take them to, we have detention contracts in various counties. We take them to the closest county that they were arrested in. If we know it's going to go federal, we'll usually try to take them to Muskogee because that's a federal detention center. Mm-hmm. But other than that, we've got contracts with Adair County, Mays County, Delaware County, Cherokee County. And if they're arrested in a county we don't have a detention contract, they're transported to the closest detention center that we've got a contract with.
Okay. I'm just wondering why he was held so long, so they couldn't determine if he should go to federal or if he should go to tribal court. And I think it's finally has worked itself out. But
yeah, and he should have had a bond set where he could have bonded out if he needed to until he got his hearing.
I think it was kind of high. Okay, thank you. Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Mr. King.
Ms. Wright, is there any comment you can make on the investigation?
No, all I know that at CNE is that we have 4 open cases, 2 of them at West Alon, 2 of them at Catoosa, and they're all dealing with embezzlement, but I don't think any of them's a large amount. I know that one of them I looked at just in review, and it was $500. So I'm not sure where they're at. I just know they're still open pending investigation. And by here, I know there were 16 cases, which I didn't mention, that were of just general crimes within all of the casinos that have been taken care of. I guess they're non-Indians because they've been taken care of within the county system, and those are closed in there within the county system. But we're working them directly, and they'll probably either go to tribal court or to federal court.
Now, there is one federal investigation, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And that investigation is still ongoing?
It's still ongoing.
At one point, was the federal gavel be released?
The federal system, until you get an indictment that's public, you can't discuss the investigation. So until we get that far into it, to where they actually hand us a true bill on it, then we'll just continue to update you whether we've still got it going or whether it's closed out by exception or whether they picked it up.
Somebody's returned the bill and the number is larger than $500.
We've only got the one large one going on.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes. Any other questions? Go ahead.
How large is it?
Huh?
How large is it?
Well, it had to meet the federal guidelines. The federal guidelines, no. Federal guidelines, they won't even look at it unless it's, I think it's $10,000. Yeah. Otherwise, we have to probably take them tribal.
Would it met the federal guidelines more than one?
Oh, it met the federal guidelines.
Any other questions? Thanks, Ms. Wright.
Thank you.
Okay, moving down to old business is a resolution confirming the nomination of David Blue as a board member of Cherokee Nation Industries. Mr. Martin?
Madam Speaker, I make the motion to confirm David Blue for the C&I board.
Do I have a second? Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Mr. Baker?
Madam Chairman, I believe that he called maybe you and asked to be tabled for next month if he couldn't be here. And I think following his wishes would probably be good.
Mr. King?
I just did want to comment. I had a conversation with Mr. Blue about issues of corporate governance and independence of the board and his role within the board as the legal fiduciary. And we did this program a couple of hours. And I asked him every tough question I could. And I really felt that at the end that he was more than committed to trying to do the best for CMI, that he understood corporate governance and issues around Sarbanes-Oxley, et cetera. And I felt convinced at the end that he would be a fine board member.
Yes. Ms. Cowan? Watts?
Thank you, Madam Chair. He's already been in front of us once. We know that he was probably thinking of our wishes to have him present when we did nominate him. But I'd like to move it forward so that he has some certainty in his positions so that he can continue to lead their efforts while we're in a position that there needs to be leadership. That's the time.
Thank you. Mr. Thornton, did you have a hand up? Jackie Bob, did you have your hand up?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I did have my hand up, and thank you for recognizing that. She made the comment that Mr. Blue stood before us for at least an hour in the meeting prior to this, and I attend most of the, maybe all of the D&I board meetings. And Mr. Preston and I sat in on one just a day or two ago for 4.5 hours, I think. And as far as I'm concerned, Mr. Ballou is well qualified to do what he's doing. And watching that board work, I was very proud of the whole board. Thank you.
Mr. Conlon? Okay, Ms. Conlon?
Yes, and I spoke with Mr. Willie just yesterday, and, you know, he let me know that he wouldn't be able to be here today, and didn't have a concern one way or the other whether or not he tabled his nomination, but I think since he's been on the board, I think they've done some good things, and they've maybe taken care of some issues that hadn't been taken care of previously. And from the other folks that I've visited with on that board and working with him, I feel like he's been a very solid addition to this board. I have no problem with moving forward as well.
Call for the question.
Question's been called. All in favor of the confirmation of David Blue as a member of Cherokee Nation Industries Board signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay. Next item is, I believe this item needs to be removed. The legislation that was presented in our packets was the wrong legislation. There is new legislation that Ms. Hammonds has prepared, and but it didn't meet the 10-day deadline in our receiving it, so she graciously said she would be happy to present that in October.
Okay. Second.
What'd you say?
Move the table for next month.
No, I'm just removing it because it was wrong. I'm just giving an explanation. Moving on down to new business is a resolution confirming Scott Gregory as Commissioner of the Cherokee Nation Arts Commission. Is anyone here to talk about that?
It's a renomination, and he couldn't be here today, but we can get him on the phone if you have any questions for him. He's served the Tax Commission well.
Does anybody have any questions of Mr. Gregory? He is available by phone. Move to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on Mr. Gregory? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay. Motion carried. Move on down to number 2 is a resolution supporting the Northeastern State University Redmond moniker as a symbol of honor and dignity. Well, Mr. Baker, you have that.
Yeah, Master,
Yeah.
this is not in the middle of the parade. This is not saying that you don't want Northeastern to do it. It's not saying you want Northeastern to do it. It is a mere resolution that says the Cherokee Nation, the Tribal Council, the Cherokee Nation states to Northeastern State University, the National Collegiate Athletic Association, the Oklahoma State Region for Higher Education, and any other interested parties that the moniker Redmond, as used by Northeastern State University, is a source of honor and pride to Native Americans in our communities, and it's not hostile or abusive. Not saying for or again. It is. I found Mr. Allen's back here, and I totally agree with Mr. Allen when somebody brought out an old T-shirt that was 25 years old that had the old Redmond mascot on it. And I think he pointed it out to them, and I think they felt bad after it was pointed out. But the Redmond per se, I mean, it was a female seminary. It probably, I think Mr. Allen documented that more Native Americans that graduated from there than any other university in the country. And so it's not saying we like the president's decision, we don't. It's just saying that it is not it's not being used in an abusive or hostile manner as far as Cherokees are concerned. I move for approval.
Second. Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Ms. Calvin Watts, and then Ms. Ms. Calvin Watts.
If it please the chair and the committee, I would like to yield time to Dr. Richard Allen.
Okay. Mr. Allen, or Dr. Allen?
And there are other committee or other community members here that would like to speak as well.
Dr. Allen. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for recognizing me. I would say at this point in time that, with all due respect, Bill John is on the committee for re-elect the Redmen, and I think this is a conflict of interest for him. I still stand in opposition to that. The T-shirt that was brought out is a fine example of how others define us as American Indians, and this is the argument with most of these mascots. As I mentioned before, when this whole issue was brought up last September, that the trend nationally is to move away from those types of mascots, any mascot that suggests American Indians. The University of West Georgia, which is in Carrollton, Georgia, most people know it as the university where Newton Gingrich taught, changed this mascot last year from the Braves, and did that after a couple of years of study. They had a marketing study done as to what would be a good, appropriate, marketable mascot. And I really think that's what Northeastern should do at this point in time. The argument that Northeastern started as an Indian school is erroneous. That school was taken from us. It was not an Indian school when Northeastern took it over. It was a state school. And it is still a state school, and it's there for all students, not just Indian students. And we're still maybe a larger minority than we once were, but we're still a minority in that school. That school is for white kids, it's for black kids, it's for a number of Asian students who are there from Japan. And for that school to be represented by an Indian mascot, I don't care what you call it and say how benign it might be as red men, it still gives the opposition the opportunity to define us as stereotypical mascots. So I would suggest that the council turn down this resolution. It shouldn't even be coming up for consideration since it was already defeated last September. So I mean, I can go on and on, but I don't think it's necessary. It's a thing that riles me when I think about it, because I've been at games where people have said hang the Indians, things of that nature. I grew up with prejudice in this county, this town. I don't want to go certain places, but a lot of people who say it's okay weren't exposed to that kind of racism because, to be very honest, they didn't look Cherokee. I didn't know they were Cherokee when I went to school with them. So I don't mean to be that way, but I just have to point that out. And I thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions of Dr. Allen?
Madam Chair, if I may recognize the committee chair for those opposing the red man as mascot representative.
Mr. Simmons?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Karen.
Are you on that committee?
I'm on the committee to retire the Redmen. And basically, no matter how careful Northeastern is with the way they use the image, the perfect example of what can happen when you have a mascot like that is what happened at the rally with these T-shirts that were printed up. I have never in my life been offended by what Northeastern State University has done since I attended school there. But I was offended at that rally when I saw that T-shirt. I wasn't mad going in. I knew they were going to be, they had a different opinion than I did. But when I saw that shirt, it went all over me. And so therefore, I don't think it's appropriate that no matter how careful the university is, and if we support it, there's always somewhere out there that, or someone out there that can do something that is going to make people feel uncomfortable or give a bad picture of the university that I went to school and I worked hard to support, and I just don't think it's appropriate. And there's many reasons, and I could go on and on, but basically the decision's been made. Now the NCAA is involved in the situation, and as Mr. Baker says sometimes, I don't think we have a dog in this fight. And I'll be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Questions? Yes, Mr. Goodman.
I didn't, I guess I don't know, what did the shirt look like that you're talking about?
It had a caricature of hook-nosed Indian in buckskin pants and no shirt on, and a big feather in the back of its hair, and very blatant character, very blatant. Like, you saw something like that with a African American person or an Asian person, you would say that it's not right. And these were not old shirts that were dredged up. They were brand new that said, "Re-elect the Redmond" on it. So someone found this image that is from what NSU used until the 70s. But someone dredged up that image and brought it back. And it was offensive, and there were several people that attended the rally here that were also very offended. And that's, to me, that's just one reason. It's an example of what can happen when you do this. And I think everybody should be able to be proud to be there, and that includes all races of people. And I just don't think I don't think NSU should put itself in that situation where people can get hurt that way.
Thank you. I will keep my comments brief.
Thank you, Mr. Simmons. Did anyone have any questions? All right, Kara.
That's fine. I can't read. I didn't mean to cut him off. I work sometimes with the folks that look at these issues in our community, and the psychologists that take and do studies, scientifically based studies on how people view us as Indian folks. I can share this with you if you want a copy. There's, over about 60 pages of each dissertation on this and the work behind it. And one, for example, took people in a room, and they happen to be all Caucasian folks. They take them into a computer lab, and they have them look at images, mascot images of Indian people versus what they consider Caucasian images like Vikings and those things. And based on the response time for hitting the button, their response time was they positively affirmed negative words and imagery with Indian mascots. And that's the first dissertation. But with the Vikings and the other Caucasian mascots, they positively affirmed positive imagery. That's one scientifically based study that has been reviewed, peer reviewed. And in another study, it went further to find that it made non-Indian people feel good about themselves to make us look bad, and that's what mascots do. So, my dad is an NSU alumnus and a teacher in the state of Oklahoma, does not support this mascot. It's time to retire it. He has watched as Indian students in the school systems, in the public taxpayer-based school systems in the state of Oklahoma, have been ridiculed and bad-mouthed for the images that such things as this mascot has brought forward, and at the same time, quote, honored. And I think it's just time that we need to let go of some of these old things and these old ways. And I'm not saying in my past that there's not things that I need to let go of, but it's time for change, and I hate the idea that this issue continues to come in front of this council when I know I took an oath of office to support the cultural heritage of the Cherokee Nation, and nowhere have I seen or been called the red man as being Cherokee. I'm Cherokee. That's it. We're not this other term. So I really hope that we don't support getting involved in this. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any other questions or comments? Any other questions? Oh, Mr. King?
Madam Chair, just offer our comments and reservations. I'm not a judge, I didn't get a privilege for the semester. But I did go to college that had this same dilemma, Dartmouth College. start with Ann Harbor, Table Town, for the education of these people in their charter. There's more than a relationship there. I think that concur with Mr. Allen, knowing the history of the seminary and what happened at kind of statehood and how all our assets were in a sense stolen. There was some money that we had fired, but not a fair amount. And then trying to really understand, looking at those kind of schools that have it in their charter and the degree that they try to recruit and have attention programs for Native people, their sense of after seeing those kind of programs, I can't look at Northeastern and say they have the same kind of, the fact that they have a large number of Native students going through there, I think it's more happenstance than, by design. And then they have in support of some of the programs. But at Dartmouth, they eradicated the Indian symbol in the early 1970s. Still today, will play up there with ugly interpretations of what Indian people are. I personally experienced one of those at a football game. I was president of the Indian Club out there at the time. I had someone dressed up in a loincloth and paint on and chicken feathers on their head, and they pointed their finger and said, "We're the real Indians, you're not." And I don't think that there's anything necessarily designed to be offensive with the term red man here. We all know that the name of our state has to do with that as far as Choctaw language. But I can't support these knowing what can happen with these mascot vehicles. They have it at more than one institution been a vehicle of anger and ill intent. And I said I experienced one of those. And I commend myself to them to try to promote positive symbols. Institutions of higher learning typically try to create environments where everyone feels safe. And President Northeastern is trying to do that in this business here. And if there's any one place where we can do that, hopefully it is in our schools where everyone feels comfortable. Based on those comments, I'm for what Northeastern is trying to do, and those that we say out.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Just a comment that I too experienced at Mr. King in high school. There was a girl going to whip me after the game, and I went out there, and boy, I was glad she wasn't there. She called me one of those names too. Okay, questions been called. All in favor of supporting the Northeastern Redmond moniker signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
No.
Roll call, Madam. Secretary.
Brady?
No.
Bill Crittenden?
Yes.
Bill Anglin?
No.
John Baker?
Yes.
Jack Baker?
No.
Arthur Connor?
No.
John Garvin?
No.
Cherokee? Bill Johnson?
No.
Heather King?
No.
John Keener? Maxwell Martin?
No.
Linda O'Leary? Nelvana Shophouse? David Thornton? Cherokee Watts?
No.
Bill Sharkey?
No.
2 yeas. 2 nays.
Motion fails. Thank you. Okay. Item 3 also needs to be removed. The wrong legislation was included in the packet. The redistricting portion of that has already passed, and that's on the October Tribal Council agenda for approval. And there's separate legislation in regard to staggered terms. We didn't get that until late last evening. Therefore, I talked to Todd earlier, and he recommended that we table. So I'd entertain a motion to table the legislation on staggered terms. Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Any discussion? All in favor, aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Okay, item 4 is Violent Crime Control, the Law Enforcement Act of 1994. Ms. Hammonds.
Yes, Madam Speaker, this is actually, was presented to you by the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Muskogee. This is a federal issue. The federal prosecutor cannot impose certain additional penalties for certain federal crimes that would be under their jurisdiction for crimes that occur on Indian country without the tribes opting in or voting to allow those. We've provided a little memorandum regarding the legality, a little bit about whether or not we thought that they were historically or culturally appropriate, and then leave it up to the will of the council. Those 3 punishments for federal crimes are the death penalty, the 3 strikes mandatory life imprisonment punishment under certain circumstances, and juveniles being transferred to adult status as 13 and 14-year-olds. We found in our research conducted by Mr. Morton that those were all, there was no conflict with any existing Cherokee Nation law, nor could we find cultural or historical practice that was prohibitive of these types of punishments. As I said, these would be punishments that would be available to the federal for specific types of crimes, and in order to have those available, the nation would have those. You don't have to take all 3 of them. You could take any one or all 3.
Any questions for Ms. Hammonds? I believe it's up to each of us council people to consult with our constituents because of 3 areas of concern: the death penalty, 3 strikes, and the juvenile age 13 and 14 that are considered adults for violent crimes. I would certainly entertain a motion to table this in order for you to talk to your constituents. Moved and second. Any discussion? Any discussion? All in favor, aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Thank you, Ms. Hammond.
Thank you.
Are there any announcements?
Second. Aye.
Just a moment. I asked Mr. Baker what the status was on Ms. Blacktop's.
She is gone. She is on leave of absence, unpaid, and hopefully she'll be back soon.
That's it? Okay, just for your information. Yes, Ms. Calmar? Uh-huh.
Okay. Is there a point that if she doesn't come back or set a date that we can done it higher? I would assume we're short staffed, and I would hate to know that
Well, under this,
we're not all participating.
yeah, we have, in this new budget, we have other staff members that will be coming on and fill in those slots, and I believe the money that we did is we're going to look at it, split it over for 6 months, and then we look at it.
Hey, Madam Chair and
Continue.
Executive Finance Chairs, here, I'm expecting at the next meeting then a hiring procedure and policy.
Don't know if I'm getting that quick, but I'll do my best.
Okay, so either in October or November, I would assume we have a procedure where all of us are involved and engaged in participating in the hiring process for new staff.
We'll try and get that worked out.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Yard, you have a question?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Any other question? Yes.
Can we get a copy of her resignation or whatever give to you as the council, as the body of the council?
I'll need to probably look at it and tell me what. I don't know what in that particular file I can do or not, and I'm sure, I think I can, but give me time to get it.
Said it, we're all 15.
Mr. Garvin?
When is she gonna make that announcement? Apparently it hasn't been made yet.
It's been made, hasn't it?
Not
Announcement.
official.
Say again?
He said when
When
was
is she
the
gonna make her
announcement made?
announcement?
It's already in there.
To who?
Well, it was given to Linda and myself. And
Apparently it was never shared with the committee or anyone
it went to your email.
I didn't get anything either.
But yeah, the announcement for the send off, not
A
the.
day before.
April.
Was typically 2 weeks before for kind of presentation of those things.
We have a motion to adjourn. Did I get a second?
Yeah.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.